half light to wait while you decided. I made excuses for your absence so I wouldn't feel divided. You said just give me time now, like time was something kind. But every minute with you left me further behind. I lowered my expectations so you could stay. Learned the weight of maybe. You'd pull me close when it was lonely, then push me off when it got heavy. I stayed quiet in the corners where your promises would fade. I kept loving you out loud while you loved me halfway. I called it patience, you called it enough. I was always second, never first in your plans. I fit between your excuses like I'd always understand. I was always second, but I loved you like I wasn't. I gave you my whole heart, you just held it for a moment. Some hearts are tasked away, some are born to choose. I waited for you to see me. You were afraid to lose. I don't need to be your everything, I just needed to be yours. I was always second, but I stayed like I was first. I kept believing love was gentle, even when it hurt. I was always second, now I'm learning how to stand, not begging to be chosen by someone who never can. I was always second, now I choose myself. You held my hand while I was breaking, said I'm not going anywhere. You traced the cracks I tried to hide, like you were teaching me to care. I started breathing easier with your voice inside my chest. I thought love was the medicine, I didn't know it was a test. You stayed just long enough to make me feel okay. You left me trust again. Then you walked away. You left me You kissed the scars I never showed, promised they were safe with you. I've stopped flinching at the dark because your light was coming through. But love doesn't disappear at once, it fades in quiet ways. You pulled away in inches while I begged you to stay. Just taught my heart to hope, then forgot to hold it. You left me halfway with your silence in my head. I learned how to stand taller. Now I fall back in your bed. You left me halfway, still calling out your name. I can live without your love, but now, without the pain, I was learning how to trust. You were learning how to leave. You closed the door so gently, I didn't hear the key. Now every step toward the future still looks like you. You left me halfway at the feeling where that love can save you slowly, then vanish without repair. You left me halfway, but I'll finish on my own. I'll take the parts you couldn't love and teach them how to be whole. You left me halfway healed, but I'll survive the rest alone. I built a home inside your silence, waited for your heart to show. I gave you all my quiet nights, you gave me reasons not to know. I learned your moods, your seasons, your shadows, every tone. But when I needed you the most, I stood there on my own. You heard my heart breaking and called it patience. You let me love alone while I was fighting for us. I held the weight of two hearts, you barely held my touch. You let me love Spoken looks you never read, cried in rooms you left too soon. I kept believing in the words you never meant to prove. Our hope like armor till it rusted through my bones. I stayed when I was disappearing just to not be alone. I called it understanding, you called it love. You let me love alone, you never met me halfway. I reached for you in every storm, you always walked away. You let me love alone like it wouldn't break my soul. I was giving you my forever, you were just letting go. Some loves don't leave bruises, they just leave you small. You don't notice the damage till there's nothing left at all. I don't hate you for leaving, I hate how long I stayed, believing love meant waiting while I faded every day. You let me love alone and called it destiny, but love was never meant to hurt this quietly. You let me love alone till my heart forgot its sound. Now I'm learning how to breathe again without you around. I loved enough for two. That was never fair. I loved you in the chaos, in the spaces we didn't speak. I stayed through all the warning signs. I told my heart to be weak. I believed in every version of the man you said you'd be. I held on to all your promises while losing parts of me. I told myself love is patience, that it forgives and it stays. I didn't know that loving you would cost me in this way. I loved you despite everything, the silence, the doubts, the pain. I stood in the rain of your leaving, still calling out your name. I gave you all my faith, even when it broke me in two. I loved you despite everything, even when you didn't love me too. I softened all my boundaries so you wouldn't feel confined. I excused all the disappearing acts, called them just a hard time. I learned how to carry a distance like it was mine to own. I made a home in half a heart and called the loneliness love. I thought if I stayed longer, you'd finally choose to fight. But some hearts only take the love and never choose it back. I loved you despite everything, the lies you never denied. I held on to every almost while you watched me slowly slide. I gave you all my softness, every truth my heart. I loved you despite everything, but I'm learning how to let go. I'll grieve the love I imagined more than the one I know. I won't regret believing with a heart that tried its best. I loved you despite everything. Now I choose what's left. I loved you despite everything. Now I love me again. Radio still knows your name. Every note sounds like your voice. I hear you in the quiet spaces, like I never had a choice. Every melody we share still lingers when I'm alone. I press play just to feel you, then I turn it off back home. I try to change the station, but my heart won't move along. I love you in every song, in every word unsaid, in the chorus I kept repeating, in the tears I never shed. I loved you in every song, every harmony I knew. Even when the music faded, it still sounded like you. We danced in borrowed moments, like time would wait for us. I thought love was forever, not a record gathering dust. Now every beat reminds me of who I used to be. Someone who believed in endings that didn't bleed. I memorized your silence like lyrics I couldn't change. I loved you in every song, every promise out of tune. I sang us like a love story, but you left before the truth. I loved you in every song, played you like a prayer. I held on to every note while you disappeared. Some loves don't need goodbye, they just fade between the lines. You became my favorite sound, I still chasing empty nights. If I ever fall again, I'll know what love is not, but you'll always be the echo I never forgot. I loved you in every song, every rhythm of my heart. Even now I hear you Every time the music starts, I loved you in every song. But I'm learning to move on. Still a part of me will always sing you when you're gone. You felt like quiet mornings, like shoes by the door, like knowing where I was going without asking for more. Your arms were my shelter, your voice calmed the storm. I didn't know love could feel so steady, so warm. I thought safety meant forever. I thought comfort couldn't leave. I loved you like home, like somewhere I belonged, like walls that would hold me when everything was wrong. In every room of you, every laugh, every promise I believe was true. You started packing your distance long before goodbye. I stayed making excuses for the tears in your eye. You stopped needing the door, I kept leaving the light on. I loved you like home, like a place I could rest. You loved me like a moment you could forget. I loved you like home, you loved me when it was easy. Now every song, every silence still feels like you leaving. 'Cause love is meant to feel safe. Why does it hurt this much to lose? A house doesn't warn you when it's about to move. I stay loyal to the feeling. You moved on from the space. I loved you like home, not a stop on the way. I thought we were forever. You thought maybe someday. I loved you like home, and I don't know where to go when the place I ran to breathe is the place I lost the most. I'll rebuild my heart slowly, but it still remembers you. I loved you more than life, every breath I could afford. I learned your silences by heart, knew the weight behind your smile. I didn't know I was disappearing just to keep you for a while. I thought losing myself was just part of loving you. I loved you more than life, more than peace, more than sleep. I gave you all the parts of me I promised I would keep. I loved you more than life, and now I'm paying the price. You walked away with everything. I loved you more than life. I chose you over my reflection, over the girl I used to be. I called it sacrifice, you called it loving me. You never asked for all of me, but I gave it anyway. I thought love meant no limits, even if I slowly faded away. You learned how to survive, I forgot how to live. I loved you more than life, more than truth, more than time. I held your heart so carefully while you let go of mine. I loved you more than life. You loved me when it was right. Now I'm left to rebuild myself from loving you more than life. If love shouldn't cost your soul, why does it ask for mine? I would have died for us, but you wouldn't even try. I don't regret loving deeply, I regret forgetting me. I loved you more than life, but I won't lose it again. I'll learn to love myself first before I let love in. You were my whole horizon, and now I'm finding my light. I fall from loving you more than life. I'm still here, learning how to breathe again. The last words fell between us like dust on an empty room. You turned away so quietly, I didn't know it was the end of you. I stayed where your shadow lingered, tried to memorize the sound of your footsteps leaving slowly, while my heart stayed on the ground. You said goodbye with your eyes before your lips ever dried. You passed the end, past the silence, past the truth. When there was nothing left to fight for, I was still we never got to use. Folded all my promises, still smelling just like you. I told myself I'd let you go, like love just knows when to stop. But my heart doesn't understand when enough is all we've got. You've done so easily. I stayed with the memory. I love you past the end, past the tears I tried to hide. When you were learning how to forget, I was learning how to serve it. I love you past the end, past reason, past control. You found your way to freedom. I stayed behind with the ghost. If love had a finish line, I crossed it alone. I kept running toward you even after you were gone. I didn't lose you suddenly, I lost you slow. I loved you past the end, past the last thing you said. I kept your name in my prayers and your silence in my head. Love you past the end, but I'm learning how to mend. Some loves don't end when hearts break, they end when we do. Love you past the end, and that's how I lost myself. I loved you too deep. I loved you in the quiet, in the spaces between breaths. I gave you all my secrets, I held nothing back. I saw the cracks you carried, still I stayed, still I tried. I believed in every promise, even when truth would hide. I thought love meant forever if I gave you all of me. I didn't know that loving could drown so silently. I loved you too deep, deeper than you ever knew. I stayed when I was breaking, just to be close to you. I gave you every heartbeat, every tear I couldn't keep. You touched the surface of my heart, but I loved you too deep. I bent myself in pieces so you wouldn't feel the weight. I waited through your distance, I called patience faith. I carried all your silence like it was mine to hold. I loved you past the warning signs, past the truths you never told. I thought if I stayed longer, you'd finally choose to stay. I didn't know that loving you meant losing me this way. I loved you too deep, too honest, too much, too true. I fought for every moment while you already withdrew. I gave you all my softness, every part you couldn't keep. You loved me when it was easy, but I loved you too deep. Maybe low, I should have guarded what I gave so freely. Maybe love isn't supposed to hurt this endlessly. I would have faced the ending if you would let me see, but you left me in the middle of who I was meant to be. I loved you too deep, but I'm learning how to breathe. I'll gather all my broken parts and bring them back to me. I won't apologize for loving with a heart that didn't sleep. You may never know my pain, but I loved you too deep. I loved you too deep. Now I'm learning how to heal. I let you see the cracks in me I never showed before. I gave you all the quiet truths I was hiding from the world. I didn't wear my armor, I laid it on the floor. I thought love meant you'd stay with me, not aim for something more. I trusted every promise, every word you said. I never thought I'd be the one you'd leave for dead. I loved you without defense, no walls, no shield, no pride. I gave you every fragile part. I tried so hard to hide. You knew where I was weakest, still you took your chance. I loved you without defense. I stayed when doubts were screaming, I silenced every fear. I blamed myself for distance when you disappeared. I called it understanding, I called it being kind, but love shouldn't feel like you're reason, no second glance. I loved you without defense. If I could go back, I'd still choose the same. I'd still love you deeply, even knowing the pain. But I'd whisper to my younger heart before the fall began. Love shouldn't feel like war when you're unarmed. I loved you without defense, but I'm learning how to heal. I'm picking up the pieces now you never tried to feel. I won't apologize for loving how I can. I loved you without defense. Now I understand. I loved you without defense, but I survived the end. I believed in every promise, every word you softly said. I trusted all your silence, like it never meant regret. I opened all my windows, let your light into my room. I didn't know the dark could follow, even love could bloom with gloom. I told myself this is what love feels like, a little pain, a little doubt. But I didn't know love could leave me empty when you walked out. You made me question what it's supposed to be, if it's meant to feel this lonely even when you're next to me. I gave you all my faith, you gave me uncertainty. You made me question love and what it did to me. I stayed through all the confusion, called your distance space. I learned to lower expectations, just to keep your face. I forgave the disappearing acts, the nights you chose not to stay. I told my heart to be patient, while it quietly broke away. I thought love meant enduring, holding on no matter what. But love shouldn't leave you doubting every time it's touched. but you made me question love. And I've never felt so low. You made me question love, but I'm learning what it's not. It's not fear, it's not waiting for someone to decide your worth. I won't lose my believing just because we fell apart. You made me question love, but not the strength of my heart. You made me question love. Now I'm answering for me. You said my name like a promise, like it was safe in your mouth. Every always felt honest, every future felt allowed. I built a life in your sentences, I trusted every word you gave. I didn't know I was dreaming while you were just passing through my days. I thought we were growing together, you were just staying a while. You never meant forever, you just liked how it felt to be loved without questions, to be somebody else. I held on through the seasons, you let go whenever. I gave you my whole heart, you never meant forever. You avoided all the hard talks, said let's just see where this goes. I mistook your hesitation for love learning how to grow. I memorized your patterns, ignore the space in your eyes. You were already half gone, I was still trying to try. I planned years in advance, you planned an easy escape. You never meant forever, I see it clearly now. You stayed while it was simple, you left when it got loud. I fought for something real, you ran from the pressure. I stayed believing in us, you never meant forever. If love is meant to last, it shouldn't feel like guessing. I was building something solid, you were never investing. I wasn't asking for forever, I was asking for the truth. You never meant forever, but I meant every part, every quiet sacrifice, every piece of my heart. I'll stop loving your potential and start loving me better. I believe in always, you never meant forever. I'll find someone who stays when they say forever. nights got heavy when your words stopped sounding true. I held on to every promise, even when they came undone. I believed in what we could be, more than what we were. I love the future you painted, even when the colors blurred. I told myself love is patient, that hope will lead the way. I didn't know that dreaming could slowly break a heart this way. I stayed for the dream, for the life we almost had. I held on to tomorrow while losing all I am. You lived in the moment, I lived in what could be. I stayed for the dream, and it cost the real me. I waited through your silence, called distance growing pains. I learned how to excuse the hurt so you wouldn't feel the blame. I fought for every maybe, every half-spoken plan. I stayed in the shadow of us, trying to help you understand. I thought if I believed enough, you'd finally choose to stay. I didn't know the dream I loved was fading every day. I stayed for the dream, even when love felt thin. I kept building castles while you stopped letting me in. You slept through the warnings, I heard them calling me. I stayed for the dream and lost my reality. Maybe love shouldn't beg, maybe hope shouldn't bleed. I stayed chasing forever while you ran from we. I would have faced the ending if I'd known what it would mean. But I stayed for the dream and woke up incomplete. I stayed for the dream, but now I'm letting it go. I'll grieve the life I imagined more than the love I know. I won't regret believing in something I could see. I stayed for the dream. Now I choose me. I stayed for the dream. Now I wake up free. You don't look at me the same now, but I remember when you did. When your hands felt like a promise, and your silence didn't hurt like this. We used to talk about forever, like it was already ours. Now we talk around each other, like strangers in the dark. I saw the cracks before the break, but I stayed anyway. I stayed for what we were, not for what we became. I stayed for the echoes of love saying my name when you were already save us. Long before I let you go, I kept hoping love would wake up if I loved you a little more. I memorized your old laughter, played it back when you were cold. You were living in the present, I was trapped in what we'd known. It changed without a sound, I stayed where we were fine. I stayed for what we were, for the way you said my name. Before loving you felt heavy, before silence took its place. I stayed through all the warning signs, pretended we were fine. I stayed for what we were, while you were leaving me behind. I learned there's a love in you that doesn't exist anymore. I was faithful to a memory you had already outgrown. If loving you was a mistake, it was one I made with hope. I stayed for what we were, for the dream we used to hold. When your heart was still beside me and mine didn't feel this cold. I stayed when love was fading, I stayed when truth was blurred. I stayed for what we were and lost myself in what I heard. You stayed for who you are now. I stayed for who we were. I saw the signs, I felt the change, but I told myself it'd bend. I made excuses for the silence, called it patience in the end. I watched the light go out in you, still held your hand somehow. I knew the love was leaving, but I didn't know how. I kept hoping you'd come back to me, even when you were already gone. I screamed too long again when I should have let you go. I gave my heart another chance, you didn't even know. I loved you past the warning signs, ignored the pain I felt. I stayed too long again and lost myself. I learned your moods, your distance, your way of pulling away. I learned to live in maybes while you lived day to day. I carried all the weight for us so you wouldn't feel the strain. I held us up with breaking arms and called it love, not pain. I thought staying meant I cared enough, but love shouldn't feel like giving up. I stayed too long again, I made your leaving easy. I turned my hurt into forgiveness, so you'd never have to see me. I crossed it is where I stand. I stayed too long again, but not this time. I stayed when you pulled away. You stopped meeting my eyes, started leaving space between. Your touch felt more like habit than the love it used to mean. I felt you drifting quietly long before you said a word. Every silence grew heavier, but I pretended I hadn't heard. I told myself love, and sometimes I didn't know it breaks this way. Said you needed breathing room. I gave you all of mine. I learned how to love in silence, just to keep you by my side. I blame myself for everything, for the cold in your embrace. I kept shrinking to fit the space where love had lost its place. You called it needing time, I called it losing you. I stayed when you pulled away, through the doubt, through the pain. You were choosing distance, I was choosing us again. I held on to every memory, like it might change your mind. I stayed when you pulled away, and left myself behind. If love means meeting halfway, why was I the only one trying? I would've let you go sooner if you hadn't stayed silent. I wasn't weak for loving you, I was brave for staying true. I stayed when you pulled away, but I won't stay anymore. I've learned that loving alone isn't love I'm meant for. I'll take back every piece of me I gave to keep you close. I stayed when you pulled away, now I'm choosing to let go. I loved you honestly, even when it hurt. I trusted you with quiet things. I never said out loud. I gave you all my fragile dreams and watched you walk them out. I thought love meant staying close, not leaving me halfway. You held my heart like it was yours, then turned and ran away. I didn't see the ending, I believed every word. You promised me forever, then disappeared unheard. You took my heart and ran like it was never yours to keep. Left me standing in the dark with promises too deep. I loved you with armor, you loved me like a plan. You took my heart and ran. I stayed awake for answers that never came back home. I searched your silence for a sign that I wasn't alone. I told myself you'd turn around, that love would slow your pace. But every mile you ran from me felt written on my face. I held on to the hope that you were just afraid, but fear doesn't explain the love you threw away. You took my heart and ran before I could defend. You left me with the aftermath of how we almost were. I gave you every reason to stay and understand, but you took my heart and ran. Maybe I was too open, maybe I loved too fast. I built a home inside your arms that couldn't last. I would have followed you anywhere if you had just asked. But you took my heart and ran. You took my heart and ran, but I'm still standing here, learning how to breathe again through every silent tear. I won't chase what never stayed or beg to be your plan. You took my heart and ran. Now I understand. I'll gather all the pieces you couldn't hold in your hand. You took my heart and ran, but I'm learning how to stand. took my trust with you. You knew where I was fragile, still you stepped right in. I showed you every open place I didn't know to defend. You held my fears so gently, swore you never let them fall. I believe the way you promised, like you meant it all. I thought love meant protection, not a quiet way to leave. You took my trust with you when you walked away, left me questioning the truth in everything you'd say. I gave you my heart honestly, you gave me doubt instead. You took my trust with you and left me here afraid to love again. I defended you in silence when the signs were clear as day. I told myself you'd never hurt me, that you wouldn't choose to stray. You learned my weakest language, use it when it mattered most. You didn't break me loudly, you just left me with the ghost. You said I was your safe place, then you made me unsafe too. You took my trust with you like it didn't weigh a thing. You promised me forever, then erased everything. I stayed loyal to the truth. You were hiding in the lies. You took my trust with you and didn't even say goodbye. If love is built on honesty, why does betrayal whisper? I would have survived the ending if you hadn't rewritten the middle. I don't miss who you became, I miss who I was with you. You took my trust with you, but you can't take my worth. I'll heal the parts you fractured and learn what love should first. I'll love again more carefully, but I won't close my heart. You took my trust with you, not the strength you tore apart. One day trust will feel like home again, just not with you. Stop reaching for my hand before I knew to let go. I kept filling all the quiet so I wouldn't feel the cold. Your words grew careful, lighter, like they didn't want to stay. I felt the distance growing, but I begged it to fade. I kept telling myself love just goes through phases. I was holding on alone while you were slipping away. I was fighting for tomorrow, you were done with yesterday. I kept loving in the dark, trying to make us whole. I was holding on to everything you'd already let go. I read between your silences, tried to fix what you wouldn't say. I learned how to smile through tears so you wouldn't feel the weight. You leaned on me for comfort, but never pulled me close. I was carrying the heartache you never noticed most. You stayed without the fire, I stayed without the truth. I was holding on alone, counting cracks in our goodbye. You were learning how to leave me, I was learning how to try. I kept believing in the love we used to know. I was holding on to us, you were already letting go. If love is meant to be shared, why did it feel so one-sided? I was building something real, you were quietly decided. I would've let you go sooner if you'd just been honest with me. I was holding on alone through the truth I couldn't face. I held on to what we were while you erased our place. I'm learning how to breathe again now that I finally know I wasn't weak for loving you, I was strong holding on low. I let go of you tonight and hold myself instead. Held on to your shadow like it was still you. I replayed every moment, trying to feel what we knew. I thought time would be kinder, I thought love would stay close, but every step away from you felt like something I lost. kept your words like lifelines, even when they hurt. I told myself